I wonder if some of you, I know myself, feel like we're not on the right side of the rainbow right now, and we're hoping, singing, thinking, praying, perhaps after Tuesday we'll be on the other side of the rainbow. But who knows? We can't say for sure. But I didn't want to spend today, 2 days before the election, talking about the election. I wanted to talk about why I come to a Unitarian Universalist church, why we gather as Unitarian Universalists. You see, for me, part of being part of a Unitarian Universalist congregation is that when there are big anxiety-producing events, perhaps like this Tuesday, it helps me. It helps me get through the times of tumult and divisiveness, having people like you that I can talk openly and honestly with, to say what is on my mind and on my heart. Well, that means a lot to me. And I realize we're not in face-to-face contact. But I've reached out to many of you over these past 6 months of COVID-19. In phone calls and Zoom calls, we've shared with one another our fears and concerns, as well as our joys and our hopes. I have, and I hope you have found too, on these calls, shared acceptance and understanding. You know, this has also happened not just in these informal calls to one another, but I felt it in this class that I've been doing, the Decentering Whiteness book club that we're doing. Our conversations in this class have become deep and personal, opportunities for growth and transformation for each of us in our own ways, as well as this openness and acceptance and this love that we have for one another. I am grateful for all these interactions with so many of you in this congregation. Speaking to you, being with you, even if it is over the internet, grounds me, comforts me, as well as challenges me and offers me healing. You know, I don't think any of us attend a Sunday service or support a Unitarian Universalist congregation like this one, or call ourselves Unitarian Universalists so we can attend committee meetings, take on the responsibility of financial stewardship, vote on bylaws, and deal with the inevitable conflicts that we have as we do all of these things. Well, there might be a few people, but they're probably in the minority. We take on these responsibilities for deeply personal reasons. And I wonder, what are your reasons? What do you value enough here to join in worship, even in committee meetings, even Zoom classes. I can tell you for myself that there are two primary reasons that I'm a member of a Unitarian Universalist congregation, other than the fact that, of course, I'm your minister and you pay me and that kind of stuff. First, there are opportunities for spiritual, ethical enrichment, growth, grounding for me. And I believe for others here, for you, and for our children. One of the Unitarian Universalist principles that guides me in this is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth within our congregations. Acceptance of one another, of all that we are and who we are, and that we accept each other and we encourage each other to be more, to be our best selves, to live our spirituality. And second, in Unitarian Universalist congregations, I am given the opportunity to live out my values, working in the world to make it more equitable, just, and compassionate. I do that through my actions, through my work, and I do it with a group of people who are there with me in this work, who also want to live these values. And then we take that out into the world. The principle that tells me, that speaks to me about this, our UU principle, is the goal of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. The goal. The thing we work toward together. The board has discussed as well, your board, the church board, has discussed these questions about what is it that is the starring light, the kernel that we use to focus our energies, the shining stars that we need to hold before us. And so the board has decided that each meeting, that they're going to speak about what they think are the guiding stars for this congregation, and they're going to focus the congregation's activities and resources toward these guiding stars. Community building, our relationships with one another, personal and spiritual growth, and making the world a better place. To keep those in front of themselves as they make the decisions for this congregation. I wonder if any of those reasons, or any of the reasons I've talked about, resonate with you. Perhaps one of them does, or one of them is more important than another. It's important, I think, to ask yourself, what is it that brings me back here on Sunday mornings, or to Zoom classes or committee meetings? What is it in here, in your body, that brings you here? I received an email this week from the Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice. And in this email, Chaplain Eleanor Piez wrote, "Regardless of who wins the election, a life of anti-racist, anti-patriarchal care for people and the earth isn't a sprint or even a marathon. It's not a relay race, although there are times we may pass a baton. It's a way of life that we train for by living it, a life of losses and joys which we embrace every part of. A justice-focused life at its core is a spiritual life. It's a way of life that connects us to the sacred in ourselves, in the earth, and with each other. It's a way of life where we ask every day, how am I connected to the sacred through my actions? How am I manifesting my spiritual commitments, my personal spiritual commitments in my everyday life? In what ways am I growing and deepening and becoming more just and equitable? And she invites us, as we consider these questions, to breathe into those questions. Let them sit within us and see what stirs. As I read this, perhaps not for the first time, but when I read this, I thought, within our faith, there is no real separation between what we believe and how we act in the world. Unitarian Universalism isn't about creeds. Unitarian Universalism is about deeds. What is sacred, spiritual, holy is not just what we think and feel. It is about who we are and how we live in the world. As Reverend Toll says, it's about our bodies, how we use them, connect to them, touch others with them. It is here in our bodies that we affirm different bodies, bodies with different beliefs, traditions, ethnicities, sexual orientations, genders, skin colors, economic status. It is also in our body that we affirm that we are part of a community, and that we are one spiritual body. Past president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, Peter Morales, wrote, "What does deep spirituality feel like to you? Spirituality is impossible to define and difficult to describe." I think we all know that. For me, he says, it feels like connection. Connection to myself, to others around me, to the earth and all creation. And for him, connection to himself feels like deep peace, awareness, calm, and authenticity. Connection to others feels like compassion, community, acceptance, and enduring love. For him, spirituality is not an idea, it is an experience. He says, when I experience connection, dividing lines disappear, inner conflict gives way to integrity. The line that separates my individuality from others fades. We become one. I find connections with my deepest self in times of solitary practice and reflection, and I find connection with others in community, most often in worship. My friends, For Unitarian Universalists, worship is a different thing. It's not about reaching up to some higher power necessarily. It's about being invited to embody our beliefs, our values, our morals, and our ethics. That's what worship is, to hold up our highest ideals together, to affirm them in our bodies. And then it is in our congregation, in our community, with each other, our interactions, that we practice our embodied spirituality. We practice our morals and ethics and values and beliefs with one another. And then we go out into the world. And as we live this embodiment of beliefs and values and morals and ethics, we make a positive difference in the world. And then we come back together in community and we share what that experience was like, what we learned, how we grew with one another. Now, during COVID, we have to be particularly intentional to make those times beyond our YouTube worship, because we don't see each other face to face. In order to share these experiences of embodied spirituality that we take out into the world, we need to be together in new and different ways, in our Zoom rooms and phone calls, maybe at home, face to face with our families. This communal experience, the sharing, is part of how we grow. It's also part of how we heal. How we heal from the stresses that we experience out in the world. How we heal when what we do doesn't seem to make a difference. To come together to help each other, support each other, allow us to heal in the presence of each other. That's the holy. That's the spiritual. I know there are times that are confounding, when we don't know what to do or how to act or to even give voice to what we've experienced. And it's so hard when it's just us. But when we get together and we share that connection, that sense of the holy together, that's when healing happens. Gloria Jean Watkins, better known by her pen name Bell Hooks, is an American author, professor, feminist, and social activist. She wrote, "Rarely, if ever, are any of us healed in isolation. Healing is an act of communion." A congregation being together in covenant with one another is an act of communion and offers us that opportunity for healing in ourselves and to be healers to each other, especially during those times when there's stress, when we don't know what to do, when we feel overwhelmed, when we feel disconnected, that we can reach out. We have people that we trust, that we can reach out to. This place offers that opportunity for us to share our lives, to treat each other with respect and dignity, to offer compassion and love to one another. It is a healing place that we hold here. you gather here because you see that this is a space that you can be brave, that you can be just, that you can be caring and compassionate. This is a place not just of one thing, but of many things, and can be many things, a both and place, where spirituality can be about ethics and social justice that is not separate, but which is part of our bodies, part of our lives. Where your bodies, minds, spirits, hearts are one thing together. And we are encouraged to embody those, to embody them, to embody our beliefs and values in our bodies. This community is more than a social place. It is a place of deep sharing, of connecting wholly and healing one another, where we can experience solace and peace and also be experiencing challenge and growth and practicing values like justice, equity, and compassion, where justice flows out of this community as we work in the world. Here, you are accepted just as you are, invited fully, with no need to hide any part of yourself, and respected as co-owners of this space that we have created together, this beloved community. I believe that we offer this space to you, particularly in times when the world seems discordant, out of control, lacking in equity and justice, where you can get what you need. We are here and will be here for you and me, all of us. And so I want to offer you this blessing as you reflect on why it is you gather with this community. It's from spiritual director Rachel Me Chapman. It's from her blog, Magpie Girl. So here is a blessing to take back with you out into the world, into your life, into your body. My blessing for you today is this. May compassion begin its slow transformation within you. May it paw at your heart, melting away the icy bits, clearing out the rubble. May it breathe new warmth within you, kindling a fire that will beckon the hurting to come in and out of the cold. May you pass this flame along for another to hold in their hand until